Scroll through enough videos, old news clips, anniversary posts, and fan forums about Whitney Houston, and a pattern starts to appear. Not outrage first, not grief first, but disbelief. The same kind of disbelief, over and over, written in different ways by different people who have never met each other. Something isn't right. This still feels off. Too many gaps. That room never stopped feeling strange. What keeps this alive is not one new revelation, because there hasn't been one. It is the feeling that the story landed in public view already carrying a chill around it. A hotel suite, a global star, Grammy weekend, and millions of people reacting in real time before the shock had even settled. Within an hour of the news, there were about 2.5 million tweets, and within a day, the number had climbed past 35 million. Years later, even jokes about the Beverly Hilton still trigger backlash, and YouTube titles still treat Room 434 like a phrase everyone already understands. That is what makes this story different from ordinary celebrity mourning. The comment sections do not move like memorials. They move like unfinished conversations. Many viewers are not claiming to know what happened. That is an important distinction. The tone is usually softer than that. More hesitant, more uneasy. Not saying conspiracy, but this never made sense. No one can explain why this still feels incomplete. The official version may be official, but that does not mean the public feels settled. Even early reporting captured that atmosphere. Reuters noted that speculation ran from drowning, to drugs, to alcohol, to suicide before toxicology was complete, and in a separate piece described a media culture caught between honoring a legend and confronting the harsher details around her death. That gap between official caution and public imagination created the exact space where doubt grows, and once doubt starts repeating online, it takes on a life of its own. A lot of the unease centers on the setting itself, not because the public needs more facts about the room, but because the room has become a symbol. In comment sections, Room 434 is no longer just a location. It is shorthand for a feeling that the scene seemed too stark, too public, too close to glamour and tragedy colliding at the exact same moment. The death happened in the same hotel where the music industry was already gathering for one of its biggest weekends. The New York Times described celebrities arriving in formal wear while a police vehicle sat outside, and rumors moved through the building. ABC also noted how surreal the scene became, with the party proceeding later that night while the tragedy upstairs was still raw. That contrast never left the public imagination. It is why comments still read like, "A whole industry downstairs and this upstairs," or "That setting alone is why people keep asking questions." The room feels eerie to people because it became the stage for a contradiction the internet never forgot. Then there is the timeline, which may be the biggest engine of public doubt. Many viewers fixate on timing because timing feels measurable. It feels like something that should be clear. Public reports laid out phone calls, arrival times, the emergency response, and the narrow window between one normal moment and the next alarming one. Reuters reported that officials needed weeks for toxicology and warned against quick conclusions, while ABC's timeline gave the public a sequence of final hours that people have kept replaying ever since. That is where the comments start sounding almost forensic. The sequence is what bothers people. The gap is too small. The timeline reads clean, but it never feels simple. Some viewers comb through public records not because they have proof of anything, but because sequence gives uncertainty a shape. If grief asks why, the timeline seems to offer a place to look. And when public information arrives in stages, first shock, then autopsy, then report, then later retrospectives, the mind starts filling the silence between those stages with suspicion. Another reason the uncertainty never fades is that comment sections rarely stay focused on a place or a timeline for long. They move to the people around her. Not in a legal sense, not in a proven sense, but in the way online audiences often react when a public tragedy feels too close to witnesses, staff, handlers, friends, or industry figures. Many viewers have questioned who was present, who was absent, who knew what, who said what later, and who seemed too composed too quickly. Recent Reddit discussion about her death showed the same patterns clearly. Skepticism about forensic details, suspicion toward the inner circle, financial mistrust, and criticism of industry behavior, while other users pushed back hard and called the speculation gossip, slander, or a coping mechanism for fans who could not accept addiction and loss. The strongest example of how persistent this has been came years later when Ray J publicly denied long-running rumors tying him to her death, saying the accusations had haunted him and that he was not in the room. That matters because it shows the public doubt did not stay abstract. It attached itself to real names and kept moving. For a lot of people, though, this story is no longer only about Whitney Houston. It has become part of a much larger distrust of the entertainment industry itself. Once that lens appears, every detail starts looking loaded. The biggest source of that feeling was the image of the pre-Grammy party continuing in the same hotel. The New York Times described the event as a strange mix of grief and business as usual, and Reuters quoted commentary about how the convergence of Grammy weekend made the story even larger. The Hollywood Reporter documented criticism aimed at Clive Davis and the wider machinery around Whitney's final years. Whether that criticism was fair or not, it fed an existing public suspicion that the industry knows how to keep moving, no matter what happens to the artist at the center of it. That is why comments so often sound less like specific allegations and more like moral disgust. The show kept going. That tells the whole story. This is why people do not trust the business. The death became a mirror for everything people already feared about fame, profit, exhaustion, and public consumption. The reason the comments never stop is simple, even if the emotions behind them are not. This case sits at the meeting point of grief, celebrity, addiction, spectacle, and mistrust. It happened during a huge media weekend. It exploded across social platforms at record speed. The official findings existed, but they arrived into an online culture that had already started writing its own emotional version of events. Reuters reported the official finding of no foul play, yet that did not settle the atmosphere. Instead, the atmosphere outlived the paperwork. The internet remembers not only facts but textures: the hotel, the room number, the red carpet, the party below. The feeling that a tragic private end had unfolded inside a public machine that never paused. Even many people who reject conspiracy thinking still say the same thing in softer language: that death feels haunting because it exposes how fame can make sorrow look staged, even when it is real. That is why, years later, one off-color joke at an award show still draws public rebuke, and why new videos about Room 434 keep finding audiences. So the real story here is not about proving one side right and the other side wrong. It is about understanding why uncertainty became the lasting public emotion. Some people believe the details never settled correctly in the public mind. Many viewers have questioned the timeline, the setting, the people nearby, and the industry surrounding it. Others argue just as strongly that the endless suspicion says more about public discomfort with addiction, guilt, and celebrity tragedy than it says about the death itself. Both reactions now live side by side in the same comment sections, one saying, "This still does not add up," the other saying, "Nothing mysterious, just heartbreaking." And maybe that is why Whitney Houston's death remains so difficult for the internet to put down. Not because the public has proof of something hidden, but because so many people still feel that certainty never arrived in a way that felt human, only official. Room 434 became larger than a room. It became the place where grief turned into doubt, and where doubt learned how to echo forever.